is welcome on Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy, Freud. And this is a call-in show, everybody. So I hope to hear from you because I definitely like talking to people more than I like speaking to a camera. So I hope I hear from you. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always hit me up in the chat room and ask me a question. And tonight's juicy topic is going to be breaking contact with the narcissist and wishful thinking. So I'm sure that there are many of you out there who, particularly who are tuning in tonight, have thought that maybe the narcissist has changed. So, 1 year goes by, 2 years goes by, 5 years goes by, 10 years goes by, and you think to yourself, oh, I'm sure by now they have learned their life's lesson. I'm sure they've done a whole bunch of therapy, really. And I'm sure by now they understand how they've hurt me and they can own their own stuff. And we can maybe yet once again try for a more healthy, synergistic, loving, whatever you want to call it, relationship. The problem is, and you can finish that thought in your own head, there are a lot of problems with that. Okay, so number one, what are the chances that this person has received massive amounts of therapy, particularly mind map therapy, to identify their childhood wounds so that they can understand what made them close their heart and demean, devalue, destroy, manipulate, gaslight you in the first place? There's a very, very slim, practically slim to none chance that they've done the work. And if they haven't done the work, guess what you can expect? So I think you know the answer to that. You can expect a WTF, a repeat, a what the Freud of the situation. But it doesn't always look like it's going to start that way. So it might be a phone call, let's say, from them. Maybe they break contact. I mean, maybe you've broken contact and then they reconnect with you. So let's work it from all angles and see what the possibilities are, what the outcomes are. So let's say you haven't talked to your narcissistic mother, father, brother, sister, lover, ex-partner, boss, whoever, best friend, worst friend. And then suddenly you get a call or text and your heart goes boop to doop to doop to doop. What a wonderful opportunity. Wow, because deep down inside, you still have feelings for this individual. So what a wonderful opportunity. We have a call. So yeah, so what a wonderful opportunity. So tell me about your wonderful opportunity. Hi, you are on the couch. And what is your name, please?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Judy. It's Robert. If you remember, I emailed you about this subject in particular.
Yeah, of course I thought about you. Of course I did. So
thank you.
You're welcome. So let's hear your story because I know that that's what happened to you. And am I right about the wishful thinking?
No, you're not right about. You see, that's where we're going to talk. We're going to get to a little bit. You see, here's what happened. My dad started hoovering my friend to ask for me, and it is. Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I can hear you. So just a little backdrop on the story.
Because I heard something in the I heard something in the background. It sounded like a beeping noise.
Okay, I hope it's cleared up. I know people have complained of volume and quality of sound, and I do hope that people can hear me clearly. So just give a kind of a synopsis of.
Okay. Well, my dad was hoovering my friend to see how I was doing, and I kind of got pretty annoyed. So I pretty much called him. And the relief was that I didn't have any anger or hatred towards him. I was just listening, and then I realized that, wow, I don't love, I don't hate you, but there's nothing there. And it was kind of a relief. But he was asking me about my mother. And my mother has the same eye issue that I do, which is a hereditary impaired vision. And she has it now at 66, and I had it when I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
So she started to ask me questions like, how did you deal with it, this, that. So I started to talk to my mother basically as a person with this eye issue, the optic atrophy, and now she has it as just another person to another person on what to do, how do you navigate, you use certain tools, this and that. Yeah. So it started to pretty much escalate that I was in a low contact in just terms of, okay, you use, these certain magnifying glasses and it's a grieving process. And I was just telling her technical stuff like that. So Mother's Day was coming, and I gave her one of my magnifying glasses, and she said, it doesn't work and you can have it back. And I said, well, look, by the way, Happy Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. Nobody was over the house, and then I left. And then she called me, my mother, and she said, it would be a really nice, it would be a really nice thing, Bob, if you come over and have Mother's Day dinner with me. Now, she can't cook anymore, my mother, because of her sight. My sister would have been doing the cooking. So I didn't know how to approach this. So I asked a couple friends, and they said, look, here's the best way to put it. Without getting into anything, just say, look, Mom, I have no problem. I have no hatred or anger towards you or anybody. I just don't feel comfortable with my sister. So that's exactly what I said. And she flipped it and manipulated it and then made it like I was the one with the problem.
Okay,
so I need to get over myself.
Okay, so I just want to back up because I want the audience to learn, obviously. So in your case, Robert has done a lot of work on himself. I'm sure some of you remember him from previous shows, and we've been in contact for, I would say, a few years, you and I, and you've done the mind map, and you are not trigger happy. You just are not. You're just not all that trigger happy. Am I correct?
Nope. You're absolutely correct.
Right. Okay. So here's what I want to mind map for everyone, because it's really important. Just was talking about this with a patient of mine this morning who is very triggered by her husband. And I reiterated how important it is to deactivate panel number 3, which is our negative core beliefs, the psychovirus that enters into our psyche, and it takes the form of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, and so on and so forth. Where is the psychovirus born? Well, it's born out of panel 1, the cause. What is the cause? The cause is the neglects and the abuses of childhood, and particularly narcissistic abuse and neglect, where the parents lack empathy for their own child. So therefore, if we're wounded and then we react and we encode and we do the work, because particularly the mind map work, I'm not that fond, as most of you know, of traditional therapy. If we do the work, what happens is we're able to identify the lies, we're able to identify the manipulations and the gaslighting and so on. So Robert, just like you were saying, you were able to talk to her as just another person, correct?
Yes, as a civilized person without any triggers, and that felt like, and that in itself was a relief to not have this anger or hatred.
Yes.
But she manipulated it when I said I don't feel comfortable around my sister. She didn't respect my boundaries, and then it's like the old Rita came back. And then what triggered me a little bit was when she kept saying, you got to get over with your sister, this and that. And I said, wait a minute. Hold on. I said, her and her girlfriends put the coins in my salad during the restaurant. Yeah. She goes, oh, no, we're not allowed to talk about. She said, oh, no, we're not allowed to talk about that. I said, but wait a minute. Now you, as a visually impaired person, can you identify to how evil and sick that was? And I was annoyed when I said that, but also when she got shocked and scared and said, we're not allowed to talk about that, I said, okay, so long story short, I have no anger, no hatred. I just don't feel comfortable. Have a happy Mother's Day, click. And I hung up the phone. And to this day, I stand by my word, but I don't have any. She was also pretty shocked that I even said I don't have any anger, because she wanted me to say I'm still angry with my sister.
Well, that's preferred, because once you have emotions, what's the opposite of hate and love? What's the opposite of those feelings? So I should start with, what's the opposite
apathy.
of love? It's apathy. Okay. So if
Yes.
the abusive person detects that you are still a live wire, meaning that you still have feelings for them, they will milk that emotion in you. And so she did not like the fact. However, I do really admire you for holding her responsible. I mean, that's the wishful thinking part.
Thank you.
I do. But, again, back to the wishful thinking part. I wish my mother would finally get it, that was so cruel. That was so unacceptable. Right. Why would I talk to a person that would injure me and put me in such harm's way? And she blew it off by just saying, get over it. Okay. And at that point, it wasn't okay with you anymore.
Well, she kind of got scared that I brought it up. And she didn't like the fact that I even compared her to my situation, that if that was you and someone did that to you, now that you're visually impaired, how would you feel? So she kind of like shooken up over it. And then she said, okay.
Did she give? It sounded like she didn't give on it. She just sort of like, we won't talk about it. Is that right?
Well, yes. She kind of, it sounded like she got shaken up and said, no, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it. I said, well, I'm just going to bring it up because you expect me to be there and I'm not comfortable with my sister.
Okay. So look, again, the wishful thinking is, gosh, I wish by now you could realize, especially since you and I share this disability, that you can see how cruel that is, that, this lack of ability to have full vision would be easy to fool somebody into just eating the salad without seeing what was in there. So you think that she'd have compassion, but I just want to go a little bit deeper in the subject, and I want everybody to understand, why is this so? I mean, there are several reasons, but one reason is that people with a narcissistic injury who display with narcissistic features of apathy and gaslighting and demeaning and devaluing, destroying, cruelty, and so on, actually do not want to, well, no newsflash here, they don't want to be confronted, because to them, owning your own stuff means criticism. Okay, so there's a difference between, I want to present two concepts. When you own your own stuff, you're healthy enough to say, wow, I can't believe I behaved that way. Oh, that was so inappropriate. I see now where that was just off the charts cruel. That's owning your own stuff. However, if your mother's blueprint was something like a critical blueprint, then she may confuse owning her own stuff with, I'm a horrible person and you're blaming me and shaming me and so forth. And so to deflect any blame and any shame, and don't forget, the narcissistic core is a fragile core. They don't want to let you in because they're just kind of holding it together with thumbtacks, so to speak. They don't want to let you in there, so they will deflect and defend, and they'll change the subject because they just don't want to self-reflect and self-correct, because that to them is experienced as an intrusive act. And I do have another caller, but I just wanted to make that point, Robert. I just want to recognize that you were able to stay in pH neutral with that stuff. And then when it didn't feel right, you pieced out. So good for you. I'm going to take the other call, and I know we'll be in touch. Okay. So take care of yourself and your beautiful dog, and I will be in, and I'm sure we'll speak again. Thanks, Robert. And thank you everyone for staying with this and learning. And I know we have another caller, so yeah, hi.
Yes, it's me. What Robert? What happened is in the middle of what you were saying, the phone got disconnected, and then I couldn't hear you finish that
You call
sentence.
back. Okay, okay. So I just want to leave some space for other
I,
people
I
to call. But I just again I want to commend you for the fact that you were able to stay in this neutral position. That's how you know
yes,
you're healing, and that when a person crosses your boundaries, you're able to peace out and just say goodbye. So you did all of that. So look at your growth.
now
Okay.
thank you. Now my dad is still keeping contact with me, and he's
Okay.
like, "Look, Bob, if you go to, do you need anything at the store?" And I was like, "You know what? Let me just go out on a limb." I said, "Well, I don't have any water. I have to go to the store and get a case of water." So he winded up dropping off a case of water at the house, and surprise, surprise, my dog didn't take a liking to him at all.
Okay,
So
so look, we're
yeah,
I don't want to go into it because I know that there are people that do want to call in, and I know that there's a lot of material I want to cover. So with regards to your dad, you play it by ear, and at that point where you feel he's crossing your line, you do the same. You peace out. Okay?
yeah, and you just he's pretty much on tippy toes with me, but the relief is was when I did the mind map and then I got to panel 6, or the breakdown breakthrough, and I got all that poison out, and I was surprised that I was able to speak to both of them as a civilized person,
Because
and even though he,
out.
and and just the shocking thing for them to hear was that I don't have any anger, because I think deep down they still wanted to have somewhat of a control over me, and when they knew that they don't, I kind of shook the narcissist up, because there was never any molecules of love to give, so that's why there was not really any wishful thinking.
Hey, Robert, I'm going to move on just because I really want to leave some time for the discussion. And thank you so much for calling in, and we'll talk again, okay?
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Judy. You have a beautiful night.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert, and for sharing that. Okay, so I really appreciate that because many of you know Robert from several episodes that he's called in on, and look at the progress. There was a point at which Robert would have hit the roof, and his amygdala would have done several reactionary dances here, and he is able to stably and calmly neutrally speak, and then when the boundaries are crossed, he's able to just say goodbye. And I'd like to get everybody to that point. So because that's the dangerous point, is then when we're tripped up and we're activated, then we can either go in one of two directions. We can implode and swallow all the poison and get sick somatically and psychologically, experiencing depressions and all kinds of symptoms, or we can explode and project all of our poison on other people, or a combination of both. And we don't want any of that to happen. Instead, what we want to do at the Psychological Healing Center is help you process your feelings so that you're neither imploding or exploding. You're basically therapeutically unloading that poison so that it doesn't infect you, and it doesn't infect other people, and it doesn't infect the future generation, which is really, really the point of the mind map. So I want to get to this wishful thinking part because I'm sure there are people listening in, and feel free to call, people who have had the need to cut off somebody that they've had very, very powerful feelings toward, mother, father, lover, friend, anybody. And maybe during a weak moment, maybe at that weak moment, they break contact. And then they hope and wish and pray that they can repair the damage. Because again, toxic ties, with the emphasis on toxic, are still ties and they could feel like love, except that the true definition of love is when you're caring and sharing with another person and you truly have their back and you care about their spiritual, their psychological, and their health, and there's synergy there, and there's a reasonable amount of give and take, and there's a reasonable amount of owning your stuff, and communication and so on. And so with toxic ties, there's this love bond because, well, we can dial it back to the cause, because attachment wise, your blueprint of your primary caregiver, usually your mom, didn't fulfill on the task of creating a healthy attachment. And so when your lover or the person who you're bonded to in this toxic way replicates that kind of original bonding with the parent, it starts feeling torturously painful when that parent, and now the more recent person in your life, moves away from you. And it's so torturous that you feel like you want to close that gap by making contact. And again, the fantasy, the wish, and the hope is that this time around, they're going to repair and say, wow, I missed you too. I'm so sorry that happened. I've been thinking about you. I didn't know how to reach out to you. I'm so embarrassed that I did that to you. I've done a lot of healing now, and I'm ready to own my own stuff. And I still have feelings toward you, and I want to repair, because this is what fairy tales are made of, right? So there's always this tragedy or this tension, and then Prince Charming or whoever comes around and kisses the princess, wakes her up, and they live happily ever after. And so we're almost set up to hope and dream that the person who did the damage is going to come in and do the repair. And that repair is the wish of the corrective emotional experience. But what do you know actually happens 99.999% of the time is, as many of you have experienced, is that a re-injury takes place. So it's subtle at first, because the person might be very excited to get that phone call like, wow, he or she is thinking of me. I must be very special. So now their narcissistic supply is within reach again, and they're being esteemed because now they are feeling special, that, you know, after all these years, you're still thinking about them. And this is very, very good for bolstering their fragile sense of self. And so again, energetically, what you're doing is you're giving to that person, you're giving them the supply, the heroin. On the other side, you're getting a little bit of that heroin, thinking, wow, that person is talking to me and paying attention to me, and this feels good. And then about face, they start withdrawing their attention. They may even take you for another ride through this horrible, I would call it like a drug-induced high, love bombing you, making you promises again that they'll never do this again to you, and treating you extra specially. And then, of course, they cannot keep it up, because true to the wounds of narcissism, they need to take more than they give. And this is a call-in show, everybody. So please feel free to pick up the phone and get on the couch and let's discuss this. I want to know your experience with taking that that risk and reaching out to somebody that you've gone no contact with, and what's been your experience and the emotional highs and the emotional lows of that experience. So hoping to speak with you. And in the meantime, please know that you can avail yourself of the Mind Map video series, which is available as a download and a purchase. And if you could be so kind as to put that up so people can see, it comes with a video and the book and the journal, and you can take that journey. Tony, if you can display that, I'd really appreciate it. The Mind Map video series. Are you there, Tony? Okay, well, hopefully.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Dr. Judy, what'd you say?
Oh, if you can display the Mind Map video
series.
Of
course I can. There you go.
There it is. Thank you very much. So if you would like to learn the system, this is an easy way to learn it. You get the download of the journal and the PDF of the book, which is free, which you can pick up anyway, and the video series, which is a breakdown of all the 9 panels from decoding your past to recoding your future. And you can pair that with psychotherapy with one of our psychologists or master's degree people, or work with me individually, or work with Christiana Davidson, who is over in London, England. And we've all worked with people who have extensive childhood wounds, including narcissistic injuries predicated on wounds based on apathetic, disconnected parents who put their own feelings before the feelings of their children. So it is super important to repair the damages of this, because if you don't repair the damages, then you're going to be still at the effect of these damages, and the consequences on the psyche are very powerfully negative, anywhere from hopelessness, depression, somatic issues, even feelings of suicidality, another rip in trust in other people. And again, why do people get embroiled in these situations and these patterns? Because they've been groomed to do so. They've been set up by their family of origin to accept these low bars of love. I had a show last week, it was called Molecules of Love. They accommodate, they acclimate to the narcissist because that's all they know is a molecule or two of love. Better than nothing? Well, not sure. So let's go through it carefully again. So let's say that you're sitting at home and you're thinking about your mother or your father or your ex or your brother or your whoever it is, and you think, oh my God, I miss him so much. There's such a pain around my heart. I've got to stop the bleeding. I've got to stop this. And so you pick up the phone, your heart is palpitating, you dial the number, and anything can happen from they reject you flat out and hang up the phone to engaging you and drawing you in and using it as an opportunity to hoover you and love bomb you and give you the impression that they've done a lot of work and they'd like to re-engage with you again. And so your hope goes up, up, up. And so if you still haven't done enough of the work, then you will tend to people please, bend over backward, show up at their house. If it's a lover, you might even have a sexual engagement with them without any promises, without any protection even. And so, so this is what vulnerability does. This is what the pain of this heartache does to a human being. It makes them vulnerable to the point where they're endangering their own health and their own mental health and so on and so forth. And again, this is a call-in show, everyone. I'd love to hear from you. And are there any questions in the chat room that I can answer?
I just ask anybody if they have any questions. So there's plenty of people in there. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the chat room, and then I'll relay it to Dr. Judy.
Yeah, thanks. And even better, please call in. And in the meantime, please note that we now have merchandise. And if you would like to purchase a Mind Map t-shirt and other merchandise, you can go to the link and pick up a beautiful t-shirt or a coffee mug and some other items, and even a mind map poster. And remind yourself that when there is a system that you can carefully follow, then a lot of things will shift in your life, like your unconscious will now become conscious. And just like Carl Jung says, that once we become conscious, we no longer will be at the effect. We're going to be able to control our lives. And I see we have a call. So hello, welcome to the show. And what is your name, please? You can use any name.
Oh, hi.
Hi, you're on.
Kimberly.
Kimberly, nice
I'm
to meet
Kimberly.
you. Is your name Kimberly?
That's right.
Thank you so much for calling in. And tell me what is it about this topic that is relatable to you?
Well, I've been in this relationship for 2 years.
Okay.
And I keep going no contact, keep breaking it.
Yeah.
I keep trying to go no contact.
Okay.
So right now we're at no contact. Well, we're texting, but being polite. But we've broken up. I've moved out. I've been thrown out of the house so many times. You know, we keep going back together. But it's
okay. So you haven't gone. Okay, so just to be clear, you haven't gone no contact because you're still texting each other. Okay. I would say you've gone low contact. Low contact. What are you hoping to gain by texting each other?
Right now, I need to get my stuff back. But
Okay.
that's at this point. I would like to forget about him, but I can't. And it's like I keep getting sucked back into it. And I think that he thinks I'm the narcissist, and I think he's the narcissist. And it's hard to explain. He's a combat veteran with PTSD. I've got complex PTSD. He started drinking again. He was in rehab for 10 months. He got out, started drinking again. Mm-hmm. I can't deal with it. We can't deal with each other. So
why are you apart? What broke it? Why did you decide that you don't want to be fully in with this relationship? And I understand the drinking. I understand that. What was the deal breaker for you?
We got in a knockdown, drag out fight. It became violent.
Okay. So have any of you been treated for PTSD, complex PTSD? Have you done any therapy around that?
Yes.
Okay. Would he be willing to go into treatment? Would you be willing to go into treatment to heal your childhood wounds, and for him to do the same and really spend some considerable energy toward that so that you can be better partners for each other?
I'm not sure. He's already he's gone through his 10 months of rehab. And he was supposed to be doing that when he was there.
Okay.
But he went right back to the same pattern he was doing before he went into the rehab.
Okay. So do you think that he's, it sounds like he's not in shape for any kind of relationship right now? And what about you? Do you think that maybe you would be open to opening up to your childhood wounds so that you can stop the WTF, what the Freud patterns and the madness of putting yourself through this cycle, picking the same
Well, sir,
dynamics?
hold on a second now, Dr. G. I've I've spent some time with V, and I've already done this for several weeks with her,
Okay,
and
how's it
that's
going?
why I'm calling you, because I'm still doing this, and I don't feel like anything's changed with
So,
me.
okay, so question to you, where are you in your process?
I'm right back at zero.
So have you done panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Have you done those panels? Have you done the work?
I went through all of this with V.
Okay. And so what do you think what do you think is the missing link here? Because you're still embroiled. Okay. So uh I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to share this with the audience at some time. I wrote this song lyric called Dirty Fishbowl. Okay. And Dirty Fishbowl, the theme of it is that we all live in some kind of a dirty fishbowl, in that we're unconscious of certain things that are going on with us, and then we oftentimes contaminate ourselves with the very things that we need to stay away from. So let's say you're doing the mind map therapy or really any kind of therapy, and you still keep dipping your hands, so to speak, in trouble, in toxicity. Okay. So it's kind of like cleaning you up, but then you go back into the dirty water. Does that make sense?
I've been I went back to drinking,
Okay, let
I
me.
guess.
So let's say that you do the work and you're exploring your childhood wounds and your negative core beliefs, and then you're working on getting the poison out of your system and so on. How far in are you in the mind map work?
Honestly, when the child opening up all the childhood wounds, and it was too much for me. It made me feel worse. Like
Oh,
I didn't like it.
okay, no kidding. I mean, this is not for the faint-hearted. So, did you veer away from the work? Is that what happened?
I didn't veer away from the work. It was like it was supposed to be the end of the. I forgot how many weeks it was, 10 weeks.
Yeah.
But I found myself drinking more, being angry more, and being a little bit more with a. I have a short fuse, and the things that I had done on my own, the work I had done on my own, was
Mhm.
kind of torn down.
Okay,
Like
question to you, because it's pretty clear you either do the work or you kind of skirt around it and then it doesn't get resolved. And I'll be the first one to say that this is not easy therapy, reopening childhood wounds and then letting out poisonous unprocessed feelings that have been building up over the years toward your mother, your father, caregiver, whoever. This is really, really not easy work, and some people are not ready to do it. So, can you honestly say that you work through panel 1 through 6 with this process?
I I I worked through them. I don't remember which one's which.
Okay,
And
So I'm thinking maybe you weren't ready to go into them on that deep level. And again, I want to remind people that this is not the easiest therapy in the world. And sometimes people will just want to talk and process their feelings. And I hold people pretty close to I hold people to the mind map process because it's a system. Okay. It's a process of decoding the past and delving into childhood wounds and identifying the damages and then deconstructing the damages. So I think maybe you can connect with V and go through this carefully and see if maybe you're ready to go back over some things that seemed too painful. And if you're not ready to do that, that's okay too. Okay. That's okay too. The reason to go through all of that processing is so that you don't hold the stuff in and you don't repeat the patterns. Understood?
Understood.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand.
I just want you to be more thorough about it because it's it's like who wants to do that? But I can assure you that when you take that journey, and again, proceed with caution, make sure that you're stable and steady and contained enough to do the work. When you do the work, then it is a process of letting out these emotional, unprocessed, poisonous feelings and things. Yeah,
I feel like I did that. I went through all that. I let out all those poisonous feelings, and I went through all that work, and I did that every week, and I still feel the same.
Okay, so the thing could be also wrapped around the addiction to the person, this person, all right? And that thing is I liken love addiction to heroin. It's really, really tough to get off of the heroin. And so
Well, you have a point. 2 people have already told me that I like pain. And I'm used to pain, and that's what I grew up with.
You're free to also call me and we can go over what was done and what wasn't done to make sure that it's thorough. But remember, and I'm going to take the other call. I know I have another call in, but I just want to make sure that you give yourself every opportunity. And the every opportunity is you've got to cut the heroin to heal. And I see that you haven't cut the heroin for very painful reasons. So please feel free to contact me. We can talk further about this because I really want you to get better. Okay. And I'm going to take the next call. But really, it's very hard to heal when you're getting little doses like that, even if they're text messages. So, Kimberly, let's talk about this and thank you for sharing this. And I'll take the next call. Okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
All right. Take care. Good night. Okay. Hi. You are on the couch. What is your name, or make up a name? Do we have
Hello?
Yeah, hi. What is your name, and what name would you like to use for the show?
Sarah?
Sarah, nice to meet you. Thank you for calling in. And what is it about the title that has you speaking to it?
I just tuned in and I'm not sure what the title was. I have to apologize.
Okay, so the
I heard you talk. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I heard you talking about going no contact with someone, either a family member or a love interest. And I have been involved with a man who fits the bill perfectly with a lot of the narcissistic traits, but because of my mental challenges, I have anxiety and depression, and as a result of my issues, I'm just really lonesome. Sure. And because of that, I keep trying to, I keep the guy around. And I was told by a therapist, my therapist, who I only see like every 90 days, which is really not enough, but part of my health insurance. And the therapist said, if you can, because I'm just really in need of like romantic, intimate contact, not just sex, but just, intimacy.
Sure.
All around. And it's just weird. And I know it's part of what you described about the childhood wounds. And I haven't been obviously I haven't been in therapy with the panels with, one of your practitioners or yourself. And I want to say right now, I definitely do want to work the program, but just for tonight's purposes, just if you could speak to, and maybe you already have, why I'm not getting what I want from this relationship, but I guess I'm wondering, and I'm not even being clear. The therapist said, if you can just basically have physical intimacy with this guy and just enjoy that for what it's worth, since you're aware that this guy, you don't want to be in a long-term relationship, you can just enjoy it. Because on a very surface level, I kind of, in quotes, can handle him because I recognize his narcissism. And this is going to sound probably bad, but I know he gets a fix out of his, I know I can feed his ego. And if I'm aware of that, it's nice when we're together, but it's kind of, I would only be doing it just for that as an end goal, just for that kind of physical intimacy.
I'm not shy to say I disagree with the advice that you got. I'll just flat out disagree with it. You could disagree with me or anybody else can, but the reason I disagree with it is because we're not sardines. We're people. We're human beings. And we need intimacy, not just sexual intimacy. And it's really, really hard to splice and dice these things. When he is inside of your body, you're smelling him, you're tasting him, you're feeling his heartbeat, you're replicating some level of attachment. And it's not just a clean break between sex and your heart and your emotions. It doesn't work that way. And so I do want you to watch my show, Molecules of Love. And so I want you to look at your own childhood injuries, because it sounds like you were groomed to settle for very, very small molecules of love. And I want you to consider, is this a plus or a minus? And what I'm hearing is a minus. It may be, like heroin or alcohol or any drug. It might be a plus for a little, but then at the end you have a hangover. It makes your body sick. You get addicted. You want more. It stimulates your desires for intimacy, sexual, emotional, and all of the above. And then at the end,
just for the moment.
Right, but it leaves you high and dry. So if you look at my panel
True.
7, okay, look at panel 7, and you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So a healthy relationship, you see those bubbles coming together, panel 7?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's say that you're the yellow bubble and he's the blue bubble. And if it's a healthy relationship, then it's synergistic, meaning one you and one him together makes more than 2. 1 + 1 greater than 2. Okay? What your therapist was saying is, okay, maybe it could be 1 + 1 is a fair and even trade, but it's not. It's just
not. Can I just?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you responded that way, because one of the reasons why we haven't been intimate yet, and this has been like going on 2 years, is just because of what you said. I just, something inside me just said, well, something deep inside me because of what you said, but then also just the cursory knowledge that I just have in my gut, like, this is not what I'm looking for. It's not satisfying, and it's just, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm really lonesome, and I'm a little desperate. I don't want to like start to. I think it's because I just don't want to get into start meeting other people. And I think the key, and this is segue into the last part, and I'll get off the phone, is do you guys have like group therapy or anything like that?
I did a mind map webinar about 2 months ago. I love doing it. I would do it again. It's just that I need to have at least 8 to 10 people in the group. And it's just really hard to get people on the same page at the same time. But if there are, if people want to email me about that, I'll try to start another group for everybody. And it's less money than paying one-on-one to one of our therapists, and you get a lot of nice time because we really go through the panels, and of course you get the mind map journal download and all of that. I would do it again. So if you have some people that want to join in, or if anybody wants to write me, just write me at Dr. Judy, DRJUDY at Psychological Healing Center, and I'm happy to try to put this together. And in the meantime, that mind map video series, very affordable, $195 for a lot of viewing time. At least you'll get the system, okay? But you know, I'm so glad you were vulnerable with this, because you deserve a lot more than molecules of love, okay? You deserve a lot more.
Thank you.
One, and I'm surprised that your therapist is telling you this, but then again, the older I get.
Well, there's therapists and there's therapists, and I want to give kudos to you, and in particular, Yitz Epstein. I did abbreviated time with him a little before the pandemic hit, and it was very helpful. And I have to say, your work and then his counseling, you guys really made a difference in my life. And I've shared the book with friends. And
yeah, thank
so
you.
I don't want to take too much time, but I just want to thank you for the mind map and your book and your kindness. It really comes through your expertise and knowledge. And yeah, as a therapist, not all of them have all the experiences others. So
yeah, and
thank you.
This is really meant, as you know, is because I so want to direct people in the right direction, and people have to understand the in-depth nature. Again, I want to reiterate, we are not sardine cans. We can't just open our hearts and close our hearts and move on. Well, I guess narcissistic injuries could easily do that because they lack empathy. So what's it to them? You're just a disposable. And the more you allow people to treat you in a disposable manner, the more they're going to activate your childhood wound of not being important and special and lovable and worth it. Okay, so every time he does this, or let's say you allow him to do this, you are reinforcing just how worthless you are. Okay, and that. Got it.
I gotta cut it off. I hear you, and I guess I needed to hear that. Thank you for just reinforcing that. And I think why a weekly or a monthly is because as the previous caller was saying, and probably other people, at least for me, I get lonely, and I will, as you said, I'll relapse or break down, and like, oh, I'm gonna call him and go contact him when I know that it's not right for me.
Thank you for taking that in. I love that you took that in. And many of you know that I myself have personally been involved with covert narcissist, overt narcissist. And the last time I had contact with the covert one, and he was love bombing me to death and telling me how much he loved, missed me. these were my parting words to this individual. I said, I finally figured out who you've been in my life. And he got all excited, like, who, have I been the best person? And I said to him, almost quoting it, just about quoting it, I figured out that who you've been to me is a reflection of my low self-esteem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never
Wow.
saw him again. Never.
That's perfect because, I appreciate you sharing that, because one thing this guy told me, and I think I said it in the midst of a kind of back and forth argument, but why would I even stay contacting somebody who we get into arguments? But he told me, you told me that if you were in a really good place in your life, you never would have been involved with me.
There we go. And that's what I'm trying to raise the bar for everybody, so that this blip on the screen is a blip on the screen. Like, why would I even give this person a minute of time of day? Okay. So anyway, I hope.
Okay. Thank you.
Got the message. Okay. So thank you so much. And
thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night. God bless. And for those of you who want to start a participation in a webinar on mind map therapy, contact me and I'll see if I can get 8 to 10 people together. And if I can, we will do that. Okay. And in the meantime, please know that we have one-on-one people on the team, and that the mind map video series is available. You can grab a free copy of my book, Be the Cause: Healing Human Disconnect, and learn more about the system. And please do subscribe to the show so that you can get weekly notifications. And go shop at the merch department, merchandise, because if you're wearing a t-shirt with the mind map, then you can constantly be reminded. Or if you get a mug with the mind map on it, then you can wake up every day and remind yourself that you can either be the cause or be at the effect of. So we have choices in life. So I really appreciate everybody's calls and tuning in, and thank you so much. I'll see everyone next week. Good night, everybody. And if you've enjoyed my show, please subscribe to my channel. If you need help, please call the number below.